Well, hey, everyone. Welcome back to Astronomy Daily Live. It is 2 hours UTC on the 29th of January, 2018. You can call me Cosmic, and here we are again. Missed last night's show due to some obligations. Participated in a sweat lodge last night. So that was and they're always very great. So yeah, I'm just very relaxed, feeling very cleansed, and yeah, ready to move on full steam with this live daily stream every single day at 2 hours UTC. So here I am back. Also, yesterday I dropped off my artwork pieces to the TAPS 2018 art show. uh, TAPS, that stands for the Art of Planetary Science, that is going on at the University of Arizona Lunar and Planetary Lab next weekend. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of February. So hope everybody's doing good tonight. I am doing very well. I'm going to do sort of the usual things here. Load everything up. Like that. So Astronomy Daily Live is what I hope is a high quality, but very casual, skeptical, open-minded, educational, and fun conversation amongst friends, and it happens every single day, same time, same place. Um, that could expand in the future. Um, but at the moment, this is what I am working with. Very enthusiastic, and yeah, I think this is sort of a limitless um, possibility here. That's one of the great things about the science of astronomy is that really it's sort of the study of everything, and there aren't any other sciences that can sort of claim that. Every other science, as far as I can tell, um, has some kind of a specialty. Um, astronomy doesn't. Astronomy gets its fingers into pretty much everything. Um, Now, whether it needs to go into detail, like the search for the search for life. Oh, let me get the chat going here. Should astronomers be uh, concerned about actually finding life? Mm, Probably not. I would like to leave that up to the biologists. And there's a growing area of astronomy called astrobiology. It's sort of a crossover uh, thing. But so far, astrobiologists don't have a lot of don't have a lot of data. Um, have a lot of theories, and they're sort of ramping up. But I think definitely the role that astronomy can play in the search for life elsewhere is at least um, coming up with methods of detecting uh, signs of life for sure. So yeah, I'm gonna pop the chat out here. And I'm going to also watch the live stream. Oh man, I forgot my hydrogen hydroxide tonight. I'll have to stick with poisonous coffee. Very poisonous, but still hot, so no worries. All right, I'm going to get onto my live stream. For those of you who are watching this in the future, hello from the past. everything was pretty good. So far so good. Hope everything in the future is going well. All right. Well, I need to pop the headphone jack into the headphone like that. Whoops. Just lost it. Gonna get it again. Have to unmute. I'm gonna put you down just for a second so I can check my audio levels. Okay, we're looking really good so far. Really good so far. Cool. Well, I was just if uh, if there isn't any conversation within the circle that wants to go another direction, I thought that I would throw, show you some book material that I've collected over the years. Some of it helped inspire me and educate me, and um, otherwise, keep the fire burning red hot on this rocket that I am still on in terms of astronomy. So yeah, I collected a few things that maybe I will show off if there aren't any other conversations that pop up. So yeah, so Astronomy Daily Live, as I said, is hopefully high quality, um, but very casual conversation about astronomy, and I would like this to sort of be have conversations directed by the group, but if there aren't any of those, I certainly have many topics in my back pocket, and certainly uh, fill up a good hour of talking pretty much anything astronomy. I think tonight I'm going to bring in a few books and a few other things just um, to show off. This sort of shows it's sort of a full spectrum in terms of the beginners through through the amateur realm, through the professional realm. So I fill all of those shoes and wear all of those hats, sometimes at the same time. Makes it pretty awesome. Makes it pretty fun. Pretty fun to be an astronomer, for sure. These are interesting times. I think uh, yeah, there are some interesting things, new theories, new ideas, new concepts, and new observations that are coming down that are really pushing us hard. To think really hard about how we have been thinking in the past. Um, a lot of physics and astronomy is sort of based on 200-300-year-old ideas that maybe it's time to sort of take a look at those and see if there are other ways of looking at things, not being really so dogmatic and so sure. Um, the history of science is a history of thinking that we're always right, and or at least what our current thinking is sort of uh, correct because our models match the observations the best way. But a lot of the times you have models that are similar to things like x plus y equals z, where in that extreme there's an infinity of possible solutions. Um, you start narrowing down those kinds of limitations a little bit, and but you still get um, to places where there very well can be um, many answers. And the thing with life in general is that we don't know what we don't know. And so I think we always have to stay sharp. I think we always have to stay very skeptical. And I think we always have to stay very open-minded. Can't we can't throw anything out because it sounds funny or because it doesn't necessarily uh, match our current thinking about things. And I think scientists, are put on they're put into situations where they're sort of being um, the high priest. When there's a question, everybody runs to the high priest and looks for an answer. And I don't know if scientists should be put into that kind of a situation. Oh, keep punching the wrong command here. There we go. There we go. So other topics that we can discuss. We can talk Q&A if you have any questions. Um, Goes both ways though. I can have some questions as well. And speaking of which, let me pull up the chat to make sure that I am not missing anything. Well, hey there, Uncle Bill. Nice to see you. Glad you could come by. I think you're from the Weekly Space Hangout crew, yeah? I think I recognize that name. So really glad to see an astronomy type here. Been doing this a couple of weeks now and trying to get some traction, some momentum, and I think the best way is to hook up with some trains that are already moving. So my idea there is, I've been watching, the Weekly Space Hangout for quite a while, participating in the chat when I can, um, and not really finding or seeing any kind of vacuum to fill or niche to fill until recently. It dawned on me that um, having a daily, very casual circle of friends kind of conversation, um, it, that kind of thing isn't happening. Um, so it's fun, but it's also I'm a pretty intense dude, um, uh, it's not going to be a lot of talking yet not saying a lot. I want to combine both of those things, and hopefully I'll be able to patch in some panelists down here along the bottom, and we can have even a more live um, conversation. So if you and or anyone in the future who is watching this want to get on as a panelist, you can email me at cosmiclettuce@gmail.com. And when the stream goes live, I have a little link that I can send you, and yeah, you can jump onto the panel, and I'll have to don my headphones so there isn't that really neat feedback. Now, as a musician, I think the feedback is really cool, but it's hard to have a conversation that way. So yeah. Anyway, Uncle Bill, I am glad that you're here. I think you subscribed to the channel earlier um, today. If you want to turn on notifications, hit the I think it's called the thumbs up. Sort of looks like that, and share this around. I hope that this kind of format is um, sort of relaxing and inviting, and not something that's going to turn a bunch of people off. This is just a group of friends hanging out in a circle every single night. Turn off the TV, turn off the news. Let's talk about what we're passionate about. And for me, one of the big things is definitely astronomy and sort of the related sciences to that. All right, very very cool. Thanks. Anything on your mind, Uncle Bill? What I can ask you, where are you in terms of astronomy? New, sort of an amateur, advanced amateur, pro, none of the above, all of the above. I'm all of the above. Never consider myself necessarily a finished pro. I'm always almost always in a state of awe. It's just uh, this existence itself is pretty intense and pretty amazing. And just to be aware of things is absolutely fantastic. And to be able to sort of apply a method of investigation and inquiry and uh, attempt to satisfy my curiosity is I think is what it's all about. It's great fun. So yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, yeah, I will have to check that out. You just mentioned, yeah, sort of the priesthood, and it's it's it, that's a stressful situation that I don't think that scientists should be put into that position, and um, a lot of them either do it, voluntarily or without really realizing that they are. And I don't have a solution to that except to acknowledge the fact that they are about as clueless as everyone else. They just have, different experiences and different forms of knowledge and, different perspectives that, you know, that allow us to see things in a particular way. As I said, using a particular method of inquiry. So, yeah, I will have to check out Tony's uh, 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 commentary about that. Just getting, I've actually been watching Tony for a while as well, more as a lurker because his show is pretty early in the day, and so I really don't have an opportunity to watch it live. Um, but yeah, I think I definitely will check that out because hopefully we're in agreement that yeah, we have to look upon things pretty skeptically, but with an open mind. And I think if we do that, we'll at least achieve some level of satisfaction. All right, well, cool. Hey, I'm gonna show off my first show and tell. This one, I I I got a double. I got a double on this one. Um, Back when I was a young kid, just getting into sort of seriously into astronomy, early teens, mid teens or so. There was a contest put out by the Astronomical League, and I don't even remember what the contest was about, but had to write a paper of some sort describing some astronomical thing. And I don't even remember wrote about now, but it was something to do with observing and the classification of objects and how I did that, and how I made observations of various astronomical objects. I don't remember any of the details, um, but I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were. But for some reason, I I, I want to say that we never heard back. I don't remember exactly now. There was some kind of miscommunication, uh, which is, you know, uh, typical a lot of times. Um, so never heard about what the results of sort of this contest was. Um, don't remember the circumstances, but anyway, the end result was that in 1985, July 19th, 1985, I received in the mail a signed copy of Clyde Tombaugh's Out of the Darkness, the Planet Pluto book. This is a description of how he uh, discovered Pluto, and we have signed a signed copy there that they had sent me. He and Patrick Moore was the co-author on that. And then a few years later, when I was a early student at the University of Arizona, of course, the astronomy department, um, he came and spoke at Flandrau Planetarium, and I was deeply honored to have him sign the book again. So is that cool or what? So I got two signatures of the discoverer of the planet, the, well, no longer designated as a planet, but two signatures of the signed by the discoverer of Pluto. So that's a pretty awesome book. It's very inspirational. Uh, yeah, as a kid, I was incredibly inspired by this book, very much, because he grew up in Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, very few resources of any sort. Somehow, threw himself together a telescope, made some drawings of, I think, of Jupiter and maybe some of the other planets. Sent them to the only astronomical place that he knew of at the time was Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, and they were impressed with what he had observed and sent them and hired him on as a I guess sort of a staff scientist. So yeah, very honored to actually you know shake the hand and see him sign uh, my copy of his book. So by that time, unfortunately, he really didn't want to be uh, in the spotlight anymore. His speech presentation, was very canned, um, uh, not uh, friendly enough, but definitely could tell that he was just a little bit tired of telling the same story over and over again and hearing the same kinds of things over and over again. So that is completely understandable. He was kind enough to do that. So far out, very far out. Forever grateful. The technique that he used to discover um, Pluto is for all practical purposes, is exactly the same techniques that are used now. Um, he used a device called a blink comparator, where he would take, um, uh, and this was back, the photographic plates. So he would take a photograph of a particular star field, and then a few days later, he would take a photograph of exactly the same star field. And he would take these two images and put one image. He would set it up in this device, the blink comparator, and what that did, uh, you, you would look through, um, uh, like I I think it was a monocular, so you would look through a single eyepiece down through, and light would shine through the left image, and then it would darken and light would come through the right image, and it would blink back and forth. And if you lined up the plates such that the stars um, didn't appear to move, um, then anything that was moving would sort of pop out as a little thing jumping back and forth, left, right, left, right, left, right. And so if you saw one of these things, uh, that's sort of an immediate sign that there's something moving there. Um, then you can go through a process of determining if you've seen it before, if it's a known object, if it's a new object. Uh, you can get a sense, sort of a sense, because of parallax, see about how far away it is. Um, uh, you can measure, how far apart these um, these two images are, and get a sense of how fast it's moving. Those kinds of things. He did this for I don't know how long. It was very tedious and very painstaking, and he had to not only collect the data, but he had to do the analysis. He had to spend hours and hours and hours, little microscope eyepiece, scanning around these big plates, these big glass plates, looking for these moving back and forth faint little points. Um, Discovered a lot of asteroids, discovered a lot of comets, and discovered Pluto as well. My own level, read astronomy all my life. You're a wannabe engineer. Okay, hey, you got to know physics. So, too bad. Bad. Cool. Do you have the affliction called Aperture Fever yet? A lot of people get that because once you get one scope, um, you almost suddenly realize everything that you can't see. So it's like, wow, I've got a 4-inch Newtonian now. Things sort of, uh, but if I had an 8-inch, then I'd be able to see this a little better, and I'd be able to see more. 8-inch, right? And then it just goes on and on and on. I've got a friend up in Colorado. He's up to 30 inches. He's got a 30-inch Dobsonian, and yeah, I mean that pure symptom of the fever. Now, I think I was spared because being in the professional realm, I had access to some of the largest and best telescopes in the world. So I don't, I never caught that fever. I built a Newtonian on a Dobsonian mount when I was about 12 or so, and I had that personal telescope up until about a year ago. I got this guy. This guy is a Nexstar 8SE, a Celestron. It's a C8, right? It's sort of, you know, the upgraded C8. Yeah, Uncle Bill, I'm sorry, but you have the fever. Too bad. You'll absolutely love it. It'll blow your mind every single time, you know, you step up a little bit, little improvements, you know, all of that. I've got two major complaints about this scope. The biggest complaint that I have about this scope, there is no clutch. So in order for me to operate this telescope, it has to be plugged in. I have to use the paddle. And I'm pretty old school, and that here in a minute. I'm pretty old school when it comes to just eyeball observing. Um, I'm not really into, you know, the computerized or, you know, the go-to scopes. I think that I find at least that the hunt for the object that you are after is uh, is pretty much as exciting as observing the object itself. So I, uh, I when, you know, computerized telescopes first started coming out for, you know, the amateurs, I sort of cringed a little bit because I knew, and it's a fact, that a lot of people have, you know, these very elaborate telescopes, and without go-to, they would be pretty much completely lost in the sky. And I think, just a matter of opinion, but I think, you know, to call yourself an astronomer, you need to know the sky, and you need to be able to move around in the sky. That's probably an incredibly biased opinion, but there it is. Um, uh, and I I I enjoy knowing the sky, and, you know, being able, you know, to manually found and know how to use charts and all of that. So yeah, CCD imaging is great. I've got T7, so it's an older CCD camera, and I'm not using it for photography. I'm using it to actually, you know, collect data. I take all the calibration data as well as, you know, my science data, and then I reduce the data, and what I'm doing at the moment is, of course, mainly photometry. Um, but yeah, great for photography as well. Photography is definitely an art form. Is an art form that takes a long time to master. Um, but by the same note, um, collecting data, you know, for scientific research also is an art form, and takes an equal amount of science, and just working it, just working and working and working it, because there's lots of interesting details that um, you know, you have to know about in order to make sure that what you're seeing is, you know, coming from just those objects that you are observing, and there aren't any, you know, funny things going on that can, you know, distort that. Um, finds other stuff. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What I've I'm the original sky charts that I used were Wilterian's Sky Atlas 2000, and I had it in the there's a particular form where it's just the individual charts. They're not in a book or anything. But over the years, those have gotten incredibly uh, um, destroyed because just used and abused and used and abused. They're up here on this shelf. So what I use now is this one, which is just the bound the bound version. And this is actually the colored version too. So it's kind of hard to show all of that, but these show all the stars down to eighth magnitude, and uh, all of the deep sky objects maybe down to about 12th or 13th. Which, since I had a 10-inch scope and still have a 10-inch scope, that's about the limit in terms of deep sky objects. 12th or 13th magnitude. This guy here can see maybe down to about 11th or 12th or so, which isn't bad. But yeah, that's I find using charts and having paper charts, uh, not anything on a tablet or any kind of electronic device, but having paper charts that I can just throw out onto the like onto the hood of the car or the hood of the truck with a red flashlight, to be able to look at them and be able to star hop. So identify the object that you are going after, and then look at the chart and identify constellations and then stars, and then look for some patterns and just hop, 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 hop right to the object. You can get really, really fast at that. When I used to do Messier marathons, I used to do what I call Messier Plus marathons. So Messier marathon is um, at one time during the year, you can potentially see all but one of the Messier objects, and um, it's around the spring equinox. And so what I would do is I would get started, and I would clear a sky of Messiers in about an hour or so. But then I would have to wait a couple hours for the next piece of sky to come up. And so during that time, I would go after um, other objects, mainly like the NGCs. And so I pick up a few of those in between all the Messier objects, and yeah, so not only hit uh, all the Messiers, but potentially observe as many other things as the Messiers. So you're talking a couple of hundred objects over the course of the night. It was extremely intense and extremely tiring, but exhilarating at the same time. Yeah, I'm just reading your comments here, Uncle Bill. So yeah, there are a lot of really nice, handy pocket atlases, those kinds of things. I don't really have any kinds of recommendations, except you know um, see if you can check out a few, and whatever you think sort of um, looks good and feels good to you is probably the one to go after. So yeah, Sky and Telescope, of course, is known for some pretty high quality stuff, good stuff. It's an excellent resource, excellent staff. Those people know their shit, and yeah, fully endorsed. I've I've subscribed to Sky and Telescope off and on for many, many years. Not currently a subscriber because I can get, you know, with the internet, you can get most of your news and most of your information without having to pay anybody for it. So that's what I do. But for sure, that's a great, great resource. Great resource. Yeah, yeah. The Sky Wheels are good. I find that a lot of people are confused by them for a while. They're tricky, at least at first until it's and I find this, with charts too, is that you have to be able in your head, you have to be able to transform what you're seeing on the paper to what you're seeing in the sky. And sometimes that transformation um, is difficult because it requires a particular perspective that isn't necessarily natural. You sort of have to learn it. Um, Once you learn it and once you've got it, it locks in. So it's very, very cool. Yeah, I use Stellarium, and that's one of the first um, sky chart planetarium programs that I've been impressed with in a long time. I think they've done a really, really good job with that. Seems to be pretty accurate. Um, it definitely a lot of or some of the work that I'm doing is dealing with measuring the positions of things in the sky, doing astrometry, like the positions of Jupiter's moons, um, or the position of an asteroid, whatever. And I like to take that data, reduce it down, make the measurements, and then compare those to you know programs like Stellarium, to see uh, what the differences are, because that's the interesting thing, is that there always seem to be um, differences, even if they're slightly off. And I wonder about that, right? The skeptic jumps out and is like, hey, what is going on there? Why is there a difference? Just the other day, and I posted a video of this to my YouTube channel. Um, we had a really, really nice pass of the International Space Station. Maximum height was supposed to be something like 81 degrees, which is almost straight up. So it was a really, really awesome path. Gets about as close as to me as it can, so it gets really, really bright. I think it got up. The predicted magnitude was negative 3.9. So watched that pass, photographed it, made a little time lapse, which, as I said, I posted onto my YouTube channel. But while I was looking at it live, I noticed that there was another satellite that went through also. And when I went to the Heavens Above website to find out what that other satellite was, the path shown in Heavens Above didn't exactly match the path that I was seeing in the sky. So that can be attributed to lots and lots of things. Probably most likely the orbital parameters of satellites change all the time, because everything is dynamic. There is no perfect um, elliptical orbit. In a certain sense, space is sort of bumpy, and and uh, and so the parameters of these orbits change all the time. So if you have a old or dated um, orbital parameters, then you're going to predict one path where, when you go out and observe it, obviously it's in, whatever orbit it is, and it might be in a different place. And in this case, it was. So I sort of like to see that, and like to make those kinds of observations. There are uh, groups of people. I don't know how organized they are. I think they're pretty organized. I haven't been able to hook up with them yet. But these are people who are passionate about just observing satellites, and sort of keeping track of uh, where they are and how they move, and if there are any that shouldn't be there but are, um, all that kind of stuff. And it's a pretty seems to be a pretty dedicated group, but don't know how open and active they are. Yeah, I think Stellarium does exactly the same thing with satellites, right? You can upload the latest um, orbital elements, and see it with Stellarium as well. Cal Sky, yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard of Cal Sky. I will have to I'll have to check that out for sure. So another very very inspirational book that I got pretty early on. Actually, right, this book probably and this whole thing sort of appeared at exactly the perfect time. So back in 1980, Carl Sagan came out with Cosmos, the book and the series, and being what, the 11-year-old, the 12-year-old at the time, that is like, uh, you know to make an impression on someone, that's like the perfect age. So Cosmos just blew me away, and continues to blow me away today. And I would have gotten into astronomy regardless of whether Cosmos was there or not. But uh, because it was there, it was like rocket fuel. Yeah, definitely. So let me see. I can let me dive into these guys. This is another great resource for hmm, maybe not exactly newbies, but um, I was a newbie when I got these. And these books. This is a 3-volume set. These books are incredibly abused. I'm going to and a little bit dusty, but they are the Bernam Celestial Handbooks. This is volume 1. These are alphabetized by constellation. So that's sort of an unusual ordering of things, but it sort of matches the astronomical mentality. This is volume 2, and you can see I don't have a cover on this one. Coffee stains everywhere. And then here's volume 3, which doesn't have a back cover or a spine anymore. So these are very used and abused books, but highly recommended for not only the beginner but also sort of the serious amateur. Lots of information, lots of details, um, not only about the brighter stars that are part of the constellations, but also descriptions of some of the brighter non-stellar objects, like the galaxies and nebulae, um, and also some great photographs. So this is sort of going to be really hard to show these kinds of things on here, but you can sort of see great photos. They even have drawings, like hand drawings. Let me see if I can find one of those. But anyway, they list the positions of a lot of the binary stars, constellations. What we're seeing over here. It's kind of hard to show these off like that. Um, Hand drawings, plots. Stars. They have plots of the variability of a bunch of stars in here. So just lots of good information. You know, I actually don't know if these books have been updated, um, but these were the ones that I've had for, man, I've had these for probably 30 years now or so. Here's some. I don't know if that's necessarily a hand drawing, but it's sort of a finder chart, right? To be able to identify which star is of interest here, and it marks the names and designations of other stars in the field as well. So awesome series of books. As I said, ordered by Constellation, which is yeah, it's a pretty interesting and unusual uh, ordering of things. Usually it's alphabetical or by right ascension, or something like that. Also got these really cool charts showing the orbits of binary stars. So that big black circle in the center is a bright so-called primary star, and then orbiting the primary star is a fainter, represented by a smaller black circle, and you can see all the dates there. So they got these orbits down pretty good. Um, Widest separation is happened, at least according to this, back in 1986, about 4 arc seconds separation. So an arc second um, is 1/3600th of a degree. So 1 degree is 6 arc minutes, and then 1 arc minute is, I'm sorry, not 6 arc minutes, 60 arc minutes, and 1 arc minute is 60 arc seconds. So 1 degree is 3600 arc seconds. And then, of course, there are 360 degrees all the way around in a circle. So yeah, an arc second is a very small angle, very small. Um, and yeah, in order to see that kind of a separation, you need a pretty good size scope with some decent magnification. Magnification really isn't that important when observing. Sort of depends on what you're observing, but the idea that high magnification makes a telescope better. Mm-mm, mm-mm. What makes a telescope better is the aperture size, is the size of the mirror or the size of the lens. So yeah, Bernam's for sure. Now I have a kitty who is screaming to get out of this room, so I'm going to just leave for moments, let her out, and then I'll be right back. just like that, just like that. So yeah, I'm hoping that this channel and this live stream grows and becomes an ever larger circle of friends. Huge shout out to Weekly Space Hangout who have very kindly and um, friendly um, accepted me in and starting to get integrated into that group. I hope to uh, be able to bring a lot in. I think that is really important. Not necessarily just be a participant, but be a creator. And I I think I have a lot to offer, and this is a great outlet for that. And one of the purposes of this channel is to find supporters um, that will um, allow me to do the kind of work that I want to do all all the time. I do have a day job, which is extremely awesome. But um, if I could do um, astronomical research, good astronomical research, not just putzing around and stuff, but real stuff, publishable work, collaborations, with other pros and amateurs, anybody at all. Um, that's and continue to do these live streams, get into the social media as much as I possibly can. I'm coming in uh, into this maybe a little bit late, and I'm feeling a little old. I'm much older than what you probably think. At least I've been told that. Um, but yeah, I think I have the capabilities of hooking in pretty easily and getting on this train and continuing the ride. I think there's a lot of room, and I think it would definitely be a synergy. It would be a benefit to everyone to just have more. So here I am. Classic works have no proper modern analog. Uh, yeah, yeah, I agree. Let me show one. Let me show one sort of professional level book, a more intense astronomical book that I always have on hand. Astrophysical Concepts. This is the Harwood book. This is uh, this is one of the many astronomical Bibles. Um, this just lays out in very technical but complete terms uh, pretty much everything astronomy. It goes through the whole thing. Distance scales. I'm just sort of going through the chapters here. Distance scales, dynamics and masses of astronomical bodies, random processes, photons and fast particles, electromagnetic processes in space, quantum processes, stars, cosmic gas and dust, structure of the universe, life in the universe, cosmic origins, and then a huge appendix on astronomical terminology. So yeah, and then also a list of all the astrophysical constants. So yeah, just highly mathematical, lots of words, some pretty good pictures too. Pretty good pictures. Um, Trying to see if there's anything. I'll just throw up an example just to give you an idea. That's pretty poor rendering, but you know, astronomy can be expressed mathematically, so we do, and that sometimes makes it easier and sometimes makes it harder. Cool. Yeah. Take a look. It's you know, my attitude is that you know the kinds of things that I'm interested in are, you know, the concepts that just sort of, you know, fly above my head a little bit. You know, maybe a foot or so, like that, right? Now, if the concept is too far out there, right, like way above my head, then it's hard to see. It's really hard to see. And if there are concepts that are, you know, either smacking me here or smacking me any lower at all, it's like, well, you know, I've already got that, so you know, not too interested. But if I've got some concepts that are, you know, just flying over my head, so I can still see them, but I've got to work a little bit. That's my sweet spot, and this this kind of book is like that. It's just heavy enough and just uh, complicated enough for me to keep me on my toes, and it's also a great resource for sure. Did I pull over? I didn't pull over the. I didn't pull over the other one. Well, that's probably enough for now. Probably enough for now. Yeah. If you can get access to any university libraries, that that might be a good resource for you too, Uncle Bill. So I remember the first time that I had access to a collection of astronomy and um, physics books at a local university, and I was in absolute heaven. It was like, oh, it was great. It was really great. Spent a lot of time in libraries, for sure, for sure. All right. Well, it's a little bit after 3 hours UTC here. Don't want to keep anyone any longer than necessary. I like to go for at least an hour, and that has happened because that's one of the really cool things about having a daily show is that I don't really feel any kind of pressure to, you know, try to pack in a lot of stuff, because if I forget something, or if I, you know, want to talk about something, or if you want to talk about something, probably probably there will be tomorrow. You know, my experience so far is that there always has been. So, you know, there's a pretty good chance that, you know, tomorrow will actually happen, and we'll have another chance to get together like this. And I think as this group grows, um, these conversations may last a little bit longer, and it won't necessarily just have to be me, you know, doing this all the time. Although I'm more than happy to be doing that. I can talk astronomy all day, all night. I mean, there's more than enough to talk about. Um, and this format, I want to keep very casual, no real structure. Um, Whatever either comes to your mind or comes to my mind, let's bring it up. As I said, you know, I'm pretty open to most things. Um, I can handle any level at all. Really glad to know, Uncle Bill, you know, that you've got a scope. Hope it's being used as much as you possibly can. Um, as you probably know, a 4-inch scope is you know, can be a pretty awesome awesome device. 4-inch scope, you're going to be able to hit all the Messiers. A couple of them are going to be challenging. You're going to have to make sure that you're in a nice dark sky without any moon. Nice transparent sky. Make sure the seeing is really, really good. You'll hit all the Messiers. There's lots of binary stars that small telescopes are really, really, really great at. Um, oh, you had a 4-inch scope. Oh, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. So you're gonna have to get yourself another one then. Yeah, man. Not yeah. I mean, you must be uh, um, suffering, some great withdrawal, because having a telescope and binoculars and now not having it, it's like I don't know, that's that that is rough. That is really really rough. But you know, you don't even need that. In fact, Uncle Bill, I've started a project. It's a collaboration. It's a worldwide collaboration, and it's going to be starting pretty soon. I'm going to push the button on this pretty soon. Just sort of finalizing a write up. Um, I've got a project to have people help me measure the distance to the moon using nothing more than a digital camera or like a smartphone um, camera. And it's just a matter of taking a picture of the moon next to a bright star at a designated time. And with that information, with that data, with that image, uh, we can measure the distance to the moon. If there are multiple people taking images at the same time. So if you're interested in being involved with that, Uncle Bill, drop me an email, cosmiclettuce at gmail.com, and I will put you on the list. And that's going to be getting started pretty soon. The moon's going to be next to Regulus on, I want to say February 1st. So that's a little too soon. I want to give everybody, like at least a week's notice for these kinds of events, but they happen all the time. The moon is always going next to a bright star or a bright planet. So I'm not going to sweat it. If we miss, this first one, there's going to be another one really, really soon. And the more observations we can have, the more accurate and precise um, measuring the distance to the moon is going to be. And yeah, I think it's a really really neat thing. It sort of gets everybody involved. Very educational and super simple. You don't need anything except a digital camera. Um, and try to make the image as good as you possibly can. The moon will be overexposed. You can try to minimize the overexposedness while keeping the image of the star. It's really, really important to have the star in there and the moon in the same field of view. Um, but the star can be really, really faint as long as it can be seen, as long as I can measure the position of that star relative to the position of the moon, with pretty good accuracy, um, we should be good. So I'm not going to sweat, trying trying to ask anybody to be exact and precise and anything else. It's absolutely amazing what you can do with a little bit of information like a picture. So yeah, if you're interested in that, let me know and I will put you on the list. So cosmiclettuce at gmail.com. So anything else for now? There will probably be tomorrow. So no sweat. But if there's nothing else for tonight, I think I'm going to call it. It's been awesome. It's been fun. Uncle Bill, thank you for coming in. I really, really, really appreciate it. Spread the word. Hope you like it. Hope you like the format. It's um, yeah, as I said, just really casual and fun, chewing the fat, uh, getting together, talking astronomy for a little while. Um, if you like it, spread the word. I'm open to uh, suggestions on how to improve. Definitely want to improve the quality of all of this. I'm working with some pretty primitive technology, so but I like to start. I like to start at the beginning, and this is definitely the beginning. Um, as I said, trying to get some traction, trying to get a little bit of attention. I think it'll come. Hopefully, this is an interesting enough format, not too boring, not too over the head. As I said, I can come in at any level, and I'm happy to do so. Um, Anything that sort of stirs the interest and gets you thinking about stuff. So yeah, all right. I think I will exit this location for now. I got to get back up to the ship. It's time. Especially, I think I'm running out of fuel. So yeah, I think I need to get back up. And so for now, I will leave you in peace. Glad you could come. Spread the word. I'm going to be here every single day. There's going to be rare occasions when I'm not going to be able to make it, but I will let you know about those. It's going to be pretty rare. I lead a pretty simple life, and I'm usually always here just working on stuff anyway here at home. So, yeah, expect me here every single night. On the rare occasion, I won't be, but that'll be pretty rare. So, okay, I'm out of here for now. Thanks for stopping by. Hello to everyone in the future. Nice to see you. And I will check you out in about a little less than 22 hours from now. Yep, a little bit less than 23 hours from now. All right, peace out.